Hey, everybody, and welcome to the next episode. Today, we are going to be answering the age old question of is SEO bullshit? So, Adam, I'm going to throw it straight over to you. Do you want to sort of run us through what actually SEO is?
Yes, it's a big question and one that I get asked quite a lot. I think the kind of easiest way to think about SEO is to kind of ignore the SEO part of it for a little bit and just focus on the human. I would say that SEO is really about making your website easy for both Google, but most importantly for users to understand. And over the past 5 years, we've seen Google really move towards that in terms of their ability to understand a website as if it was a human. And it's kind of all of its AI magic and wizardry it does. So I think for a lot of people, and most people that I talk to, the kind of the optimizations that I'm trying to do in terms of that search engine optimization part are just making the site more user friendly and just making it more obvious what the website actually is. So a good example for quite a lot of smaller independent kind of freelancers or consultants that have got their own website, maybe on Wix or on Squarespace, is that they'll have a services page, but they won't say what services actually are. So when it appears in search, it would be a page that says services and then Adam Bastock, rather than saying SEO services Adam Bastock or something like that. So that's a natural thing where it's very easy for you to write that to be more human, and it's also SEO. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's sort of one of those things where people try and make it sound like it's a very technical and complicated process. And I think at the more advanced end of SEO, that is very much the case. But
Absolutely.
really, what search engines want is friendly, easy to read websites. And that, as you've rightly said, is exactly what people want. And now Google's reading websites more like humans read websites. That
Yeah.
kind of reliance on heavily technical coding SEO is just falling away. So I think really SEO is more about, it's not necessarily about getting your website to the top of the results. SEO is more about making sure your website appears when it's the most relevant to the user. So when
Absolutely.
someone's making a search, Google wants to give them the most useful and relevant page at that moment. And it's about being the page that Google chooses at that moment. It's not necessarily about being number one or even coming up every time. I think that's the thing that a lot of people try and do is they try and think that, well, I need to be there every single time at number one. And I think those days, I mean, the internet is big now. Back in the early days, that probably did work and probably was possible. But I think actually a lot of that has moved on. So in terms of thinking about what SEO isn't, is there anything that sticks out for you as something you see that is just not bad SEO, but just like it's just so old and out of date?
Well, I think very quickly on that technical side, I think a lot of the proposals that I see from kind of spammy SEO agencies are overly reliant on the technical side, and don't kind of focus on the customer or on the user or on the money essentially you're gonna get in. So that is definitely I think it's not wrong necessarily, but it's just not helpful because, as you say, the technical side of it is not the biggest part of what SEO is about now or what kind of website should be about now. If you've got a massive website like John Lewis or something that's got millions of products, yes, you're going to need technical SEO. But for most sites that are running on, like, say, Shopify, Squarespace, Wix, or like kind of WordPress, at that smaller end, it's more about user experience and making sure your site is just got the right content on it and you're saying what you're doing. So I think, yes, in terms of what SEO isn't, I think it's not over promising some kind of magical technical kit that's going to suddenly fix the site because it's broken now. The site's not normally that broken; they just need, improving. And I think it's just not about kind of link building or kind of doing anything particularly unhuman. I think is kind of
Mm.
the best way to put it.
I
So
think
that,
there are a lot of people out there who used to sell links. I remember that being a thing a few years ago where
yeah,
people would be like, oh, we can get you 1,000 links from so and so. And actually, I think those sort of black hat SEO, as they're referred to, is and those sort of spam link building things, they can work, but Google very quickly spots them, and those results last hours, maybe days, maybe a week if you're lucky. But
yeah,
ultimately, those big networks of spam are becoming less and less online now. So I think sort of people selling results, I think, is clearly as an easy way to spot when someone doesn't know what they're doing. When they're
yeah.
saying we're going to get you 10,000 links or we're going to get you 1,000 clicks an hour or a day or whatever, and it's like, well, actually, do I want that, or do I just want to be in the right place at the right time? Because I want humans to come to my website. I'm not really too bothered about a Russian botnet,
Yeah.
jumping on my website and being like, "Woohoo! I found another website to spam." It's yes, your graph is going to look great, and everyone loves a graph, but ultimately, that isn't what we're focusing on.
It's about the it's about the money coming in, I think, and like that kind of being number one as well. I think is often overpromised because it's like, well, number one for what terms? Are they the right terms that people are actually purchasing things on? And quite often that can be missed, I think, with agencies who are focused on the technical side rather than on the business opportunities with SEO.
Yeah, and I think if you're doing e-commerce, it's very easy to be tracking where an SEO optimized search term, so something you've actively focused on getting traffic for, has ended up in a purchase.
Yeah,
If you're doing lead gen, you can also do the same. If you're trying to get a certain search term, people looking for that thing who are searching for that, and you want them to become customers and they become a lead, again, you can start measuring that, and you can attach your own value to it. Might not be monetary. You might just be counting leads. On e-commerce, it's probably more like direct actual revenue. And
yeah,
ultimately, if you're SEO agency or you're thinking of getting SEO, or paying for someone to do SEO, then you need to make sure that they're going to be delivering that, not just a graph of numbers going up. Because it's very easy, if you know the right tools, to go out there and get traffic to
yeah,
make graphs go up. So ultimately, unless you're getting a report showing how many pounds in the bank your SEO has delivered versus the number of pounds that you've spent on SEO, then you're just buying a graph. And everyone loves a graph to a point, but I'd rather have the money in the bank than a fancy graph.
yeah.
So
You
I
want
think measuring it and being able to actually apportion it back to humans who made a search, real tangible customers, is a really important factor, because without that, you're just buying a dream of results rather than real results.
I think it's really important that any SEO work you're doing should be measured against conversions. And that's again bringing it back to the human and the kind of the user side. Even if your SEO doesn't increase in terms of your ranking, it might be that implementing those changes actually gets you a higher conversion rate anyway, because your on site suddenly becomes more better and it's kind of easier for more better. That's not great, but it gets improved and it's easier for you to for users to kind of understand and navigate, and that will in turn over time improve your SEO as well, or it should do at least. But
Yeah, and I think we often discuss about that need to be number one, and how actually that need to be number one isn't necessarily, the golden egg that everyone's chasing. And in fact, being number two or number three can get you just as much traffic as being number one. And I think, yeah, anybody who's promising to make you number one doesn't know anything about SEO.
yeah, or they did like 10 years ago. And I
Yeah.
think there's quite a good example here of just to very quickly explain kind of how the search engine results page works, and the kind of rough click-through rates you can expect. So position number one will normally get around 30% of click-through rate, position number two, 20%, and then number three is kind of 15% or something like that. So obviously it is better to be at number one because you are more likely to get more traffic. But that still means that 70% of people aren't clicking on that first result, and they're clicking on somewhere else on that page, which is a huge amount, right? The majority of people aren't clicking number one. So what you want to do there is really make sure that for certain terms and for certain pages, that your page is the most enticing in search. So to give an example of that, let's say I'm researching how to clean a monitor, and there might be an e-commerce company that's got a category at number one because they've got the best SEO that is monitors. At number two, there is a blog post from someone who's not got quite so good SEO that is how to clean monitors, and that title exactly matches my search query. I'm going to be clicking on number two, not on number one, and that's where that importance of looking at the user and how they're navigating and what their kind of intent and what their needs are, and focusing on that. If you ignore all of the SEO work from a technical point of view, will probably still get you fairly close to what needs to be, and then you can just hire someone to kind of come in and tidy up the rest from a technical point of view.
I think that's very true, because ultimately you don't want to be dealing with the technical stuff. So, and the technical stuff often is, once it's fixed on a smaller site. Unless you're running a continually evolving catalogue or continually changing product, actually, once you've got the technical stuff done, the rest of it's all about the content. And that's where creating content around search phrases to help people is
Yeah.
much more effective. Like your example there, I mean, trying to do SEO for the word monitor, I mean, that's a crazy. I mean, you do that till you retire, and you still won't be number one. But how to clean monitor, or how to raise your monitor to the right eye level, all of that content, that's all great stuff that you can start to optimize for, and it's much less competitive. But as you say, if that means you're not number one, you're number two, but it exactly matches that search query, you're gonna get much more. You're gonna get a much better conversion than result number one anyway. Because the problem with result number one is most people will bounce.
Exactly.
So yeah, as you say, it's all about the on-page conversion. So thinking about researching those terms, I think a tool that not many people often use is Google Search Console.
Yeah, well, in terms of, so Google Search Console is invaluable, and I think a lot of customers or kind of potential customers of mine don't have it installed, and that's kind of part of the onboarding process for me, is that I can't really do much without looking at that. What Google Search Console tells you is very simply how people are actually finding your site. There is no kind of equivalent to it, because it is Google's data from Google search engine on how they find your site. So it will give you things such as the top keywords or top search phrases that people are searching for you, how many times you appeared for that search, called impressions, so how many out of that list of 10 did you appear for a certain search term, and then also what keywords people actually search for and then click through to you on. So it might be that we know that we, for how to clean a monitor, we appeared 100 times, and that we got 20 clicks from that. So that's the clicks and the impressions. It's very simple to set up. I think that's the main thing I want to take away from this, is that it looks kind of quite intimidating at first if you're not technical, but if you just follow the steps on screen, it will be done in about 3 clicks. It integrates now with a lot of like hosts, so like GoDaddy or like any of the kind of big DNS domain management people. It all just kind of integrates quite simply, and it's a very simple process to get it set up. And that it just is a resource of data there for you to kind of go into and go, well, actually, what terms am I appearing on? How are people finding me? How aren't people finding me? And track performance over time. So,
yeah, I think that's a really good tip. And I think ultimately, if you're using something like WordPress, then because I know sort of shops like things like Shopify, they've got all of those SEO tools built in. But if you're using WooCommerce on WordPress, then you can use a plugin like Yoast, and that will help you highlight most of the common problems that are going wrong and give you some easy fixes. That no longer ties in with Search Console anymore, unfortunately. But I think they're still 2 very good tools that will make you that will give you a lot of progress and get you quite far to some fairly good SEO performance without really needing to get anybody else involved. And then you can just get someone else involved for the kind of more higher level on-page optimization and the technical stuff. But ultimately, you should be knowing exactly what you're buying and how that's going to generate your results if you're thinking of spending money on SEO, that is.
yeah, absolutely. I think Yoast is a really good tip. It's very simple, very kind of straightforward, but it will just tell you, like, if you've got a page called services and you're a plumber, use the word plumbing more, that kind of stuff. So it's really simple to follow.
Yeah, it is good. I think ultimately the main takeaway is actually if you've got a page that has what you do, what the customer's going to get out of it, and how they can get in touch or make a purchase, then ultimately at the very least you're going to get some humans read the page and convert, and hopefully then Google will find your page and send more people to it, so you'll get more conversions. So I guess the main thing is just get your content on your pages and use the words that you think people are going to use to search for you, and then tell them what to do at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, precisely. Kind of don't do SEO, just think about people.
Yeah, so until next time, we'll see you later.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.